Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Note that a quorum is present. Move on to our consent agenda, which consists of the agenda for this meeting and the approval of the April 11, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I would
sir.
like to remove website development from new business, and I can explain that further on in my executive director report.
All right, so we're going to remove item E4 from this evening's agenda, correct?
Correct.
All right. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda or the minutes from the April 11 meeting? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Is there a second?
Sure.
Thank you, Rose. All in favor? Control your enthusiasm. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Citizen comments. Do we have any comments this evening from anyone? Seeing none, we'll move on to the finance report.
All right, thank you. I told April, and April Decker, sitting on the left down there, is the new Director of Finance for the Redevelopment Authority. I told her I wouldn't put her on the spot and make her present anything today since she's about 3 weeks into the job. So provided you the balance sheet as of April 30th and the profit and loss, and unfortunately we're still working on that budget spreadsheet to make it a little bit more legible.
That was an eye test.
As you can see, the balance sheet as of April 30th includes, the checking and savings for the redevelopment authority, the revolving loan, petty cash, and then the ARPA checking account deposit that was made there mid-April. So no other major changes to the finances. We are almost to the point where we are going to be able to finalize the QuickBooks online conversion and get that started here hopefully end of this week, early next, which will hopefully provide us a lot of features that we do not have the capability of in our current QuickBooks suite from 2014. So looking forward to that and what that'll have as far as abilities for us to track finances. Any questions?
Well, I must say, our equity has never looked so good.
Yeah.
So, well, welcome to April, and I'm sure come next month's meeting you'll be up and running. But welcome aboard. Any questions, comments regarding the financial statements? If none, is there a motion to approve the finance report?
I'll make a motion to approve the finance report.
And a second?
I'll be pleased to second.
Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I think that was everyone. Report of the Executive Director, Housing and Rehab.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rehabilitation report, the lead hazard control grant is moving along. We've so far completed 29 projects. We have a decent amount under contract currently, another 6 projects in process, 10 applications being processed currently. Our biggest shortfall there is the amount of applications we have out. We have over 80 applications out to individuals waiting for them to get it back in. It's a matter of figuring out what's the holdup as far as them getting those applications back into us. So we continue to move forward with the current Cdbg allocation from the City of Erie under the 4Z and the 4Y for rehabilitation and match to the lead program, along with working with them on the home services contract to facilitate the Home Investment Partnership Fund. As far as the county funding goes, still got the open contracts for Cdbg for the 4 municipalities, Northeast Borough, as I had mentioned before, submitted to pull their money out of housing rehab and use it for other civil projects. So that we no longer have a contract for Northeast Borough Cdbg, but Act 137 is moving along, and we signed an agreement for the 2021 allocation of Act 137 for $200,000. So that'll hopefully be executed by the county executive here by mid-May, and we'll be able to have that money available for every municipality within the footprint of Erie County, with the exception of the PJs under Cdbg, are going to be eligible under the new Act 137 contract. So it basically will provide us the ability to match and leverage rehabilitation for the lead grant in every municipality outside the city of Erie as well. So that's the rehabilitation report. Any questions?
Questions? If not, motion to approve the rehab report. I'm not sure we need one, but we might as well.
Motion to approve that.
Thank you, Rose.
A second.
Second, discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Solicitor's report, none? Are you going to give it on behalf of?
Well, yeah, when we met with him last week, he was coming to the meeting, but I could give an update as far as, you know, really the three outstanding things he provided was the issues of the condemnations at 405, 407 East 7th Street, 1615 Parade Street, and 2708 Downing, that 405 and 1615 had not received any response as far as to their Commonwealth complaint. So Gene was going to do the work on the authorities' end to respond to the court and see if, and have the Commonwealth decide whether they were going to send it back to the trial court, or and then 2708 Downing, they were continuing the process of preparing for the appeal to the Commonwealth Court. So.
All right. Questions? General updates, information.
All right. So I introduced April as the Director of Finance, but also Mindy Keel started in April as the Blighted Property Coordinator. She is taking over the majority of the duties as far as coordinating the blighted properties, the acquisitions, and managing those properties from beginning to end, from our acquisition to sale and disposition of those properties. The hope there is that that position will, one, free up a substantial amount of my time. It was beginning to be about 25 hours a week spent on blighted properties and the sales and all that, but also to expand the ability and reach of that position as far as getting property sold, reaching out to property owners and developers a little bit sooner so that we can keep that process moving as effectively as possible. So I'm glad to have both of them on board. Erie Land Bank, we're working on putting properties that we were acquired under the 2021 judicial tax sale that we determined would be demolition candidates out for bid. So we're working on getting those out currently. Attended the first annual Blight Summit in Westmoreland County the end of April. Learned a few things there, met a few individuals as far as other land banks, and met with people in Westmoreland County. And then we've completed the Erie Land Bank audit. That was completed April 29th and submitted to DECD as far as the requirement there. Any questions on that? Okay.
Looks not.
Now, as far as the RFP for the website, so we had put out the RFP for the website, and Holly, you can chime in if I miss anything. They were due a week before last. We spent last week meeting with individuals who put in proposals, and during those interviews and talking with them, I think we determined that we may have been a little vague on our RFP, and the deliverables weren't necessarily fine-tuned to the point where our proposals were kind of all over the place. There was about a $10,000 range from the lowest to the highest, with about 3 right in the middle. But during those conversations, I think we've come to find what we really need in a website and how that website can tie together with a potential future client management system, and how the two of those will need to work together so that we can get the full use of that program out of that, and what we would need to do that and have the ability for our clients to access that information on our website and just be that client-focused, organization, so that it helps provide the information that we need. So we're looking, we're probably going to revise our RFP reject all of the proposals, refine our deliverables, and submit out another request for proposals for the website with defined deliverables involved.
Alrighty.
Questions there?
Questions?
We met last week with the PA Weatherization Assistance Program representatives from the state. What's her name? Kim Thomas reached out to connect us and wanted to see if we would be interested in talking weatherization. So we met last week with, like I said, Kim, Kathy was on the call, and some representatives from the state WAP program to see how the authority may be able to assist with the weatherization program within the city of Erie. Currently, the weatherization program for the city of Erie is ran and managed by an organization out of Meadville since GCAC gave it up, I believe, in 2018. So they've been managing it, but of course, you know, being an outside the county agency, they of course find shortfalls with clients and getting people enrolled in the program. So the state's reached out to the Erie County Housing Authority along with us, and they had a meeting last week with them and a meeting with us. And so we're going to continue those conversations here over the next few weeks to see if, you know, what the authority could provide as far as assistance, or if it would be the right fit for the authority to handle a weatherization program for the city of Erie. I mean, we certainly have the client base and the application procedures, and we're in a lot of the properties who would qualify for weatherization, so it doesn't seem like a bad fit. There's just a lot of programmatic information that I want to get. I'm going to meet with a couple other corporate or individual agencies that perform weatherization and kind of talk pros and cons about the program and see if it would necessarily be a good fit for us. You know, more on the financial side than it would be programmatic. I believe programmatically it would fit. I just want to make sure that it's a good financial decision for us to take it on if it's going to cover its costs.
Question?
That is all I have under the Executive Director report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then unfinished and new business, the housing plan update.
All right. So I know we had talked last month about the Healthy Homes program. So we've completed the application. I think we have the program outline fine-tuned enough. We've identified a couple clients that we've sent the application to. We're going to try to do a couple soft projects to work out the kinks, work through the assessment, and try to get that process tuned up before we make the general rollout to the public and allow the city to put it out on their website. That way we know the program is functioning. We've worked out as many of the kinks as we can, and then we'll roll it out. Hopefully we will have that ready come June 1st is our plan, that we could get those two clients through the process enough to feel comfortable that we're ready to roll that out. And then as far as blight acquisition, we're going to begin here after the end of this month to start reviewing and work through how we want to start prioritizing the blight acquisition portion of the ARP housing plan and start to get some kind of plan together on what we expect that to look like. I'm also looking to meet with Chris Kinder later this week to start talk about the historic preservation grant program and to start laying some of the framework for that grant process and then how that's going to look moving forward. So looking forward to getting that program up and running as well. So just a couple brief updates.
Questions there? Now we have Director of Finance position with resolution.
All right. So in front of you is the resolution basically authorizing Ms. Decker to perform and execute construction contracts, execute documents relating to authority-held liens and mortgages, execute sales agreements, deeds, and other documents, and serve as an authorized signatory on all authority bank accounts.
Is there a solicitor in the house? Well, we shall return to his report then in a moment. But let's go ahead. Are any questions regarding the resolution for the authority for April? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the resolution.
Second?
April.
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And I think dovetailing upon that, but separate, is the trustee replacement.
Yes, so the resolution to basically place April Decker, Director of Finance, as the new trustee to the 457B retirement account, and remove Carrie Black as trustee from the retirement account effective. And there is a revision to that date of May 31st to May 10th, which would be tomorrow.
Discussion? Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gene, we had an abbreviated version of a solicitor's report from the executive director, but I'm sure yours will be much more eloquent.
I was going to say, I didn't give it justice, that's for sure.
No. I'll keep it abbreviated. What I did, in addition to that, what I wanted to do was just quickly clarify a couple of matters. The first one on 2708 Downing, their brief has been filed. There's nothing new or unusual or, quite frankly, overly concerning about it. So we're in the process of preparing our brief. That'll be scheduled here and filed certainly by the end of this month. And I'll provide everybody with a complete overview at the very next meeting. The one that we will kind of want to talk about a little bit, and I think probably the executive director gave you a little bit of an indication, is the 405 East 7th Street. As a result of what transpired last week, what I wanted all of the board members to have is a full chronology of the backstory with regard to this property. So I think that it's important to know how long this has been going on, what the efforts have been for us to get to the point now where the prior owner has been physically removed. I was concerned that there would be some type of a backlash or something like that. So if you were approached as a board member, I want you to know, okay, hey, wait a second, here's the whole story. Here's the backstory, not just what happened with the physical removal of the gentleman last week. So that's the purpose of that supplemental memo. And then the last story is, or the last piece of property is 1615. We have filed motions to dismiss both of those appeals to the Commonwealth Court. They were under an order to provide statement of issue on appeal that has not been filed on either of those properties. So quite frankly, the last two properties may be wrapped up here in very short order as a result of their failure to follow that court order. And that request or inquiry came from the Commonwealth Court saying, hey, look, they did not file a statement of values. If you would like to file a motion to dismiss or quash the appeal, which opened the door for me to do that. And that has been done in both of those properties. But again, going back to the property on East 7th, I just wanted the board to have that so that if there are questions or concerns or inquiries by anybody, you would have the whole backstory. So otherwise, we're in good shape. We're running hard, trying to keep it going.
Any questions for Attorney Sundberg?
Just a clarification.
Yes.
On item number 4 of your memo, we are working with Aaron Snipper to streamline the process for condemnations and address issues and problems more proactively prior to filing the declaration. Is that specific to that property, or is it just in general?
You know what? It's what we wanted to do, and Aaron and I have been talking as certain issues have come up with these different batches of condemnation action. Certainly, some almost unanticipated issues have arisen. So we have been keeping note of that to make sure that, for example, after you file a condemnation action, that the prior owner doesn't move in there, change the locks, and start making improvements to the place, which is what we've had here. So what, you know, is there a way that we can make the postings, you know, way more obvious so that we can make sure that the prior owners aren't moving in there? And if they do move in, what we found out is when you contact the City of Erie Police saying, hey, look, we need help getting this person out, they look at the records and they're going, well, it's titled owner is Joe Smith. No, not anymore. We filed the condemnation action. It's now the redevelopment authority. So we're working to get letters out to the different departments, let utility companies know, or to make sure that, for example, electrical permits are not issued after the condemnation has. So that's the type of thing that Aaron and I and our respective offices have been working together to make sure, okay, what can we do to make sure that someone doesn't run an end round of what we're doing to slow the process down or circumvent us? So that's why we've been working together over at least for the past year to say, okay, how can we make sure that we don't have these trip-ups or hurdles that we need to work around, because people are looking to bypass the process any way, shape, or form. So that's we're trying to tighten up those things so that we don't run into those dilemmas. But
Is it just internal processes you think is the answer? I don't know. It becomes a little more challenging when you have.
It is to some extent, but again, we want to make sure that the department issuing permits doesn't do that. So we're working on a procedure or protocol where both of us are checking these things off. Hey, I'll let the assessment office know, Aaron, here's a cover letter for you to give to the permit department so that they're not issuing electrical permits after the condemnation action. Because that's what a couple of these people were doing. Is now they're, oh my gosh, they filed the condemnation action, I need to race around and do things, and they're starting that process, and they get in there and then go into court and go, well, I've put $10,000 in this. Well, you know, to stop that process.
So I'm hoping too, I'm just gonna, plug this as you're involved in the CityWorks onboarding of the new software system that the code office will have. It'll take about a year before it's completely up and running, but as part of that, we need to make sure that there's a way that they can red flag those properties once they're notified, because they don't necessarily, we wouldn't necessarily we're not part of the process to condemnation. You would have to, that's an extra step you have to provide. We know when they're declared blighted because they're sitting on the BPRC, and they know when they're going through that. But it's just important as we move through this for you to make sure you remind Aaron Carey, who's helping manage the CityWorks onboarding, that's got to be part of the system when it's built, so we can red flag it, right?
Well, that was one thing. We all know the blighted property lists for sides, and people have access to it, but it's on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And the code enforcement officers don't know that the property's blighted, and the permit techs necessarily don't know. So, and I know, in previous conversations about CityWorks, the talk that the redevelopment authority would have access to the ability, to put information in and access information on those files, which is a big step toward keeping everybody in the loop as far as, what activities we're, involved in the authority office.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
All right, any other unfinished or new business? The distinction between that and other business is not perfectly clear to me, but if there isn't, we'll move on to other business. And Rose, did you have something you wanted to discuss?
So, have just a question, and this, I didn't have this before, so this is helpful, to look at a particular property and all the action that was taken. But I think my question is there a possibility for and if this has already been done, say it's already been done, some type of agreement or timeline in cases where we're taking a property because of blight and somebody wants to revitalize that property that owned it. Is there a timeline that we can establish with people that says, we'll give you 6 months to make these improvements that we see necessary for safety in that, and then some kind of timeline going forward for benchmarks for people to make? Is that something that we've ever done before, or?
Yes.
Okay.
And under the eminent domain code, a relinquishment agreement is part of that. So,
Okay.
you know, we have entered into relinquishment agreements, and there's been successful relinquishment agreements, and there's been some not so successful ones.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly, after seeing the inside of the property and the condition of the inside and the amount of work that is required to rehabilitate that property, I'm not sure I would tell the board that is an acceptable step for this owner.
Okay.
So.
And I haven't seen it, so I don't know. And I'm thinking not just of this property, but in general. You know, with Goodwill, like I think my property in the city of Erie, to have an opportunity to, particularly if you're somebody who doesn't know how to do that, you know, that you have steps. These are the steps, and this is the timeline associated with those steps. So it gives a guide to somebody who wants to do that. And I think also helpful would be cost tied with those steps, because I do know now how expensive it is to do some of these things, both as a homeowner and sitting on this board and previous experience. You don't think of that cost when you're a homeowner, little Rose Graham, who doesn't have any knowledge of those things. And so the cost associated with, you know, what's the cost to get 100% of your electric on up to code and safe? Or what do you need to have in place before you turn on the gas so that you don't blow up the street, your house and everybody else's? You know, those types of things that we as homeowners probably don't think about. Just a thought for not just one property, but, you know, kind of like a guide, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, if we were to entertain any agreement on this property, I mean, we would, as the authority, put together kind of what would need to be done to the property and what the costs associated with it. That's where we always start with everything, you know, from the rehab programs to things like this, is have an internal baseline of what the cost is going to be, so that, you know, if it was a denial, or, you know, in this case, a denial of a relinquishment agreement, that
Right.
we understand the cost involved.
Yeah, and again, I'm not just talking about this property, I'm just wondering in general if it's something you do property specific, or is there kind of like a fact sheet overall for anybody? Or do you do you drill down to each property separately and you develop a plan for that property, or is there an overall guide?
Right. So when we assess, there is none. So when we assess properties, you know, if it has several structural issues or major systems that are completely missing, it's demolition candidate, you know, old roof, things like that. You know, it's when we drill down on the ones that are salvageable or potentially be salvageable, then we kind of put a rough ballpark figure to what that rehabilitation will be, so that when we do entertain redevelopment proposals on a property, we know whether or not they have a realistic expectation of what they're getting themselves into.
And just to clarify, didn't you try to enter into an agreement with the owner on this property?
Yes.
During
We
the
had passed
proceedings.
it back and forth between legal counsels multiple times, and it ended up failing. They ended up not wanting to enter an agreement.
Okay, so you did.
Based on the
attempt.
other parties and not us, correct?
Yes, there was some sticking points on their end that failed to
So we did try to do the agreement, and
But under no circumstance would we let a condemned property be occupied. I mean, by that point, it's too far gone. So even if they did enter into a relinquishment agreement, it would be to do the work, but not to occupy the building until such time that it passed all inspections.
Yes, that would be the intent.
All right, I just want to clarify.
Aaron, along those lines, go back a couple steps. So now it's on the blighted property list and somebody wants to buy it. And they come to us and say, what needs to be done? What do we tell them to get it off the blighted property list?
And then so if it's, it's on the blighted list and then they're purchasing it from the current owner, since we have not stepped.
Correct, you haven't done.
And they reach out, and we will provide them the Exhibit A that was provided to the original owner and instruct them to reach out to the code enforcement office for further information pertaining to that specific property and its code enforcement action and what would be needed, because we don't have all that information in our office, and we certainly want to rely on them to provide that information.
So it's basically bring it up to code.
Yeah, at that point, at a point in which the property is blighted, 99% of the time, it's blighted based upon exterior condition and the knowledge that the property is vacant and utilities have been cut. We do not know the interior condition of the majority of those properties, unless there are the ones where they've been opened and code enforcement has gone in and taken pictures before they boarded it up. That we know the interior condition, but in most cases, the blight designation is strictly exterior and based upon utility connection.
Okay, good to know.
And so, for a property that we own, that we have a condemnation for, and it has become ours, what if someone wants to buy that?
If we determine that it is a candidate for rehabilitation, then they complete a proposal for rehabilitation, which requires them to provide basically a scope of the project, a timeline for the needed repairs, along with the financial requirement that would back up their investment for rehabilitation. We want to know that they have the financial means to make those repairs to the property. And I do have photos of 405, 407, 7th Street for the interior, but I can send those out in an email to you. I'm not sure if we really want to put those across social media at this point. So.
No. But yes, to the email. No to social media. I don't think we need to do that.
Anything further on this point? Or any other business?
If we're done with this, I just want to say goodbye. This will be my last redevelopment authority meeting, so I'll have to sign everything the next couple weeks.
This is your last week?
It'll be my last meeting.
Oh. Huh. When are you done?
End of May.
End of May.
So
So-
when's the
Well,
party?
we should have a party or something.
When's the party? That's what we want to know.
Probably not
You'll
authority business.
You'll get
but-
the invitations coming. So
Okay.
my last day is the 27th of May. So it's been a privilege to sit on this board with this group of people who I leave it in very good hands. I think you have done an amazing job in the very short amount of time that you've been asked to serve. And I appreciate all of the time and effort that you have given. I appreciate your dedication to the city, and I appreciate the friendships that sit on this board alongside me. So you'll be missed. I may be back at some point to check in. And if you need anything, of course, I'm only an email or phone call away. Thank you very much. I don't know. Of course, that's anyway. That's usually my daughter's cue to call me when I'm talking. But anyway, thank you for everything, and Aaron and all the new staff. Good luck to you. It's been quite a ride the past 4 years, and have we accomplished much. So good luck to you, and use that ARP funding well.
Thank you. Thank you. We certainly appreciate your service to the Redevelopment Authority.
Thank you.
And all your other guidance.
And the city of Erie and
Yes.
everything else.
Speak on behalf of the board that we say thank you, and you will also be missed in the narrow lane of hearing now for that. There's much more than that you have accomplished, but we'll leave it to the matters at hand.
You still have the same phone number?
As
Or
long
do you
as
have
you
two
have,
phones, one work and one? Well,
Yeah.
I'll catch up with you later,
Yeah,
but I want to get your phone number because
get the
I'll be
real
coming
one.
down once a month, so.
get the real one.
Well, on that sad note,
No.
happy for you,
Thank you.
sad for the rest of us. Is there any further business? If not, a motion to adjourn. It must come from you.
I motion to adjourn the meeting for last time. as
Second?
soon-
Seconded. Discussion none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Do you want to bang the gavel?